Go ahead and start with that light, like bling, because that's a good kind of like you'll see. So this morning, like early, it was kind of last night. I figured out what God is. I figured it out. Really, I did for myself. I'll kind of do a weak explanation, and I'll post a link to a Facebook status post that's It has two things. It has my little God breakdown, and it has this thing from Rakim. But first, I'd like to show you two people are back in my life now. I got my Buddha back. Here's a long, crazy story about the Buddha, about me initially receiving it, and then giving it to someone else, and then getting it back. And this I bought on my own. But they were both at someone's house who, when I was manic once, I was like, you need to have these things. This is Guan Yin, that's Buddha. Guan Yin is a Buddha, a celestial being, who, the bodhisattva of compassion, they say. I'm the bodhisattva of awesome. But I gave it to someone who was, he was struggling with stuff, and there's some plane or something flying by. Anyway, he was struggling with stuff, and he ended up moving houses like 3 times. And somehow, oh, you know what it is? There's a hospital right over here, and helicopters. I can't close it. Helicopters drop people off. Hold on, let me close. Shit's annoying. I can't close this. Oh, there's a lock on it. Break shit. Huh? There we go. Anyway, yeah, it drops people off. So, a few things going on. I got my Buddha back. I figured out what God is. Got a computer set up. This is the first desktop I've had in forever. Like, I haven't had a desktop. Got my Africa hat hanging out in the back. Dad gave me that. Look, it says Africa underneath. Boom! Speaking of God and whatnot. So, got my computer set up. I need to get a Wi-Fi thing. Oh, room is looking kind of horrible just because I just started, like, throwing stuff around as I was setting up. But I'll pick that up. So, I guess today I'm going to do my kind of God breakdown. Well, so here, if you don't know the story, in the Egyptian kind of religious thing, they had this god Ra, who's like the sun god, and then there's like Osiris and Isis and all these other people. But essentially, there was a sun god, and I'm going to make a more detailed blog post than the Facebook thing I do. But as far as I understand, pretty much all religions somehow are related to that first, like, God Horus type deal. And all religions are essentially a story. Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam. It's all just a story, right? Even the Ra thing, it was a story to explain, and this is what's all kind of been coming together for me is essentially, if you haven't heard me say this before, everything that you see, all the electricity, your device here, it's all energy from the sun. Everything, petroleum, wind, it's all energy from the sun. All movement is energy from the sun. So essentially, the sun is, it's a consciousness of sorts, and the energy / consciousness mixes with Earth and creates life, creates humans, whatever. But, what I'm saying is kind of like planets have a conscious, stars have consciousnesses, and there's this consciousness that goes all the way back to an original consciousness, which some people will call God. And that's kind of the source, this light, this first energy. And in Taoism, it's about this interplay between light and dark. And the dark, in this case, would be like the earth. So you got matter and you got consciousness. So there's consciousness that exists. I've always thought this, that exists beyond the physical, that's just pure conscious. Just like you have a rock that's just pure earth without consciousness. It might have some kind of vibration, but, you know. And all of the religions you have in the world are doing their best to explain this source, this beginning consciousness thing. And, yeah, you know, and it's just a story built up around that. So, but, you know, we're all swimming in story. And then, like, I had all these different... For example, we have a genetic history. You understand what that is. You have your father and your mother and your grandfather or whatever, and those genes come and create you. But you also have a mimetic, you know, like memes. You have a mimetic history, which is basically your language, your culture, your images that you surround yourself with or you've been surrounded with. And the mimetic, this thing that has no... When you think about it, it doesn't have a physical, like all these images mean different things to different people. You know, if you see this, you don't see what I see. You don't see Guan Yin and the Bodhisattva of compassion. You just see some chick on a turtle if you don't know the story I just, you know, said. So that, all these things kind of mix up. And then it all goes back to, this is a crappy diagram, but I'll show it. Video's getting long. I wonder, when I do that, does the video... like flip? I hope not. Or maybe that's a good thing. I'll check it. Anyhow. Oh, fuck the diagram. Basically, there's an original energy. The energy mixes with dark and matter and everything. And that energy creates us. And, I mean, we're just pure beings of light. You know, it's hard to see because you're swimming in this physical reality that... you've been conditioned to believe all the things you see and hear and whatever is the true reality. And there's a reality that exists beyond that. And that's what religion is trying to explain. Anyhow, this is too long. That's my... What am I going to title this? I'm going to title this... Who or What is God? Alright, peace.